Cobra Kai has always been a story of cycles. Over and over again, we've seen students molded by their senseis, pushed to their limits, and forced to make a choice. Do they keep repeating history, or do they break free? And no one embodies that crossroads more than Axel. He finally stood up for himself. After being humiliated in the final by Miguel, he told Sensei Wolf he was embarrassed to be his student and quit the Iron Dragons. But now the real question is, what happens next? Will Axel end up like Bobby, who walked away and found peace, or is he doomed to repeat Johnny Lawrence's cycle of failure and regret? Johnny Lawrence was once the golden boy of Cobra Kai, undefeated, aggressive, and completely devoted to Kreese. Axel followed that same path under Sensei Wolf, becoming his star fighter. The key difference? Johnny never quit. He stayed in Cobra Kai until it broke him. Axel, on the other hand, saw the truth before it was too late. But here's the problem. Johnny didn't just struggle because of Cobra Kai. He struggled because he had nowhere else to go. No support system, no real family. Axel is in the same position now. He may have rejected his sensei, but without a mentor to guide him, will he really be able to break the cycle? Or will he fall into the same self-destructive path as Johnny? Now let's talk about Bobby. Unlike Johnny, Bobby was never fully consumed by Cobra Kai's ideology. He followed orders, but he had a conscience. After being told to take out Daniel's leg, he did it, but then he immediately felt regret. And what did he do after that? He walked away. Bobby left Cobra Kai and went on to become a pastor, living a peaceful life. Axel just had his Bobby moment. He finally stood up to his sensei and walked away, but does that mean he's free? Not necessarily. The difference between Bobby and Johnny was that Bobby never looked up to Kreese as a father figure. He wasn't emotionally tied to Cobra Kai the way Johnny was. Axel, he's more like Johnny in that regard. Sensei Wolf trained him, guided him, and shaped him into who he is. Walking away physically is one thing. Walking away mentally, that's much harder. So where does Axel go from here? Right now, he has two paths. He can either follow Bobby's example and move on, finding a new purpose, or he can fall into Johnny's old cycle, lost, angry, and struggling to find direction. The biggest factor in all of this, mentorship. Bobby left Cobra Kai, but he had the right mindset. Johnny was abandoned, which led him into years of failure. Axel is now in that same danger zone. He quit, but without someone to help guide him, where does he go from here? When Johnny fell apart, it was Miguel who eventually pulled him back up. When Robbie was lost, Daniel took him in. Axel? Right now, he doesn't have anyone. No Johnny, no Miguel, no guidance. That's why his future is so uncertain. If he doesn't find a new path soon, there's a real chance he could get pulled back into the same kind of environment. Maybe with a new sensei, maybe with an old rival, or maybe even worse. He ends up alone with no direction at all. So, the big question remains, will Axel end up like Bobby, walking away and finding a better life, or will he repeat Johnny's history, following into a downward spiral before he finds his redemption? Right now, the future is uncertain. But one thing is clear, without a mentor, Axel is at a crossroads, and the next decision he makes will determine everything. Personally, I think Axel is more likely to go down Johnny's route, unfortunately, and maybe even worse. We don't know that much about Axel's family, but if Wolf is all he has, then what's he going to do with himself now? Is he still going to do karate? I mean, he was a world champion previously, and really only lost to Miguel because of how thrown off he was. His heart wasn't really in it. Axel was at a point where he wanted to find life outside of karate. He never really had experience with anything but karate, and when he met Sam, that changed everything. He was shown kindness that he wasn't shown before. Everything was about karate and being the best. Now that he lost, what is he going to do now? Johnny at least had his group of friends in Cobra Kai. Axel doesn't have any friends whatsoever. No love, no friendship, just pain and karate. I think his situation is worse than Johnny's. Will this lead to Axel going down a dark path? Will he eventually open up his own Iron Dragons in the future to reclaim his glory? I'm going to say no, but you see how easily Axel can go down the same path. I think the writers of Cobra Kai could really explore what Axel's life is going to look like. I mean, who knows what his mental state is even like. I know the show heavily I know the show heavily emphasized Daniel's mental health over Kwan's death, but Axel was the one fighting him. It obviously wasn't his fault, but all Axel's ever seen is death and destruction. Axel is socially awkward, and it's a direct result of never learning how to be vulnerable or emotionally expressive in a normal way. Since he was raised in an environment where weakness wasn't allowed, he likely never got to develop that kind of casual, comfortable social interactions that others take for granted. You saw how weird he acted towards Miguel and how he went after Kwan in the first place. He presents himself as a dominant and aggressive person, but deep down, he craves connection and doesn't know how to get it. Because Axel has never been treated with warmth or genuine care, whenever someone does show him kindness, he likely latches onto it for too long. Because Axel has never been treated with warmth or genuine care, whenever someone does show him kindness, he likely latches onto it too strongly. He has no framework for casual kindness. If someone is nice to him, he assumes it must mean something much deeper. This isn't uncommon in people who grow up in emotionally barren environments. They struggle with attachment issues, often swinging between desperate emotional dependency and total detachment when they feel rejected or abandoned. This means Axel may overestimate emotional connections, thinking someone cares more than they actually do, struggle with rejection or betrayal, feeling it far more intensely than most people. Then he also eventually becomes emotionally angry, swinging between coldness and deep attachment in an attempt to protect himself. His story is proof that toughness isn't enough. Strength means nothing without purpose, and right now, Axel is searching for one. He just doesn't know where to find it. This is why I don't see his future ending up so good, and why the cycle may continue. What do you guys think though? Will Axel break free, or is he destined to repeat the past? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Cobra Kai breakdowns.